Hello everyone and welcome to Best of the Month. I might be wearing a Christmas jumper, but actually this is the November episode. It's just December, so Christmas. Anyway, today the show is all about what people have enjoyed playing in the last month the most. So is it a brand new game to them, or is it just something that's been on their shelf for a while and they've really enjoyed? So there's quite a variety, some of the latest hotness, some certainly not of the latest hotness. Now let's dive in to see what some creators picked, with Evan obviously picking a game which I really want to have in my collection but isn't quite out in the UK yet. Let's pass over to him.
Hey everybody, I'm Evan, and really quick, I'm going to talk to you about my favorite game played for the month of November. But first, I want to mention I went to UConn this month, and I played a game called Canvas that you may have heard of. That was the first time I've ever played that, and that is a strong runner-up. I liked it a lot more than I thought I ever would. But my official pick is going to be Unmatched Adventures, Tales to Amaze. This is the cooperative version of Unmatched. The box comes with 4 new characters that you can use across any of the Unmatched game systems. But the main hook to this one is it adds some adds the cooperative mode, where you have to fight some big nasty monsters, including the Mothman here. Check that guy out. Or this alien spacecraft, right? Look at that thing. These models are super cool. And then what you do is 1 to 4 players. Yeah, you're cooperatively going against these guys, right? And it's a whole heck of a lot of fun, and it feels really thematic. There's also minions that you have to fight. They're like different sort of like cryptids. So I guess this is like a cryptid themed box. But there are more coming in this series. So the first game I played was over Skype with my friend Lizzie from Long Distance Gamers. And we ended up defeating the Martian here, just the 2 of us. And then I played another game of it later with Missy, who played Jill Trent, which is in this box. And then Grayson played Daredevil, and I played the Brothers Murph, which is a fun little expansion there. And we ended up defeating the Mothman in that one. So I'm 2 for 2 in this game, which seems pretty good, because usually, you know, I'm not one to win games at all, but that's okay. So the production value in this is really nice. Like I said, I showed you those minis, and they got these dials for their health, and it's the same high quality that you would expect from basically any Unmatched game. They really don't hold back in these to making a nice looking product. And I also have the upgraded aliens, and I guess they're Doom tokens, but they're like little flies. So when you're fighting the alien, it almost feels a little bit like Pandemic, where they're dropping off little Martians all over the place trying to control the board. And then when you're playing against the Mothman, there's those little fly things are Doom tokens, and they're trying to destroy the bridges, and then which is the lost condition. So yeah, Tales to Amaze is my pick for the month of November. We had a really good time with it. So yeah, well, I guess that's it. Thanks for having me and listen to me ramble on about Unmatched Tales to Amaze, and I guess I'll see you next month, maybe.
Hi, this is Ambi from Board Game Blitz, and my best of the month in November was The Secret of Langton Manor. So this is a free to print and play escape room game, which is really exciting because I love escape room type games. I love the Exit series, the Unlock series, all the other escape room games. I want all of them. I like free games too. And I have a printer. So you'd think that, like, how does a free print and play escape room work, or even a print and play escape room work? This worked really well. You just have to print it out. There's no assembly required beforehand, and you just turn the papers over, and you're going from the bottom. So like, you don't look at any of it after you print it out. You start from the bottom, and basically it tells you, it starts with a story, and then it tells you like when to turn to the next page, or like you go into the next room and that's the next page. The game actually comes with an app too. It felt kind of like a mix between an Exit and an Unlock game. if you've played those, but it had 10 puzzles with numeric answers to them, kind of like exit games, and also had hints in the app. Hint 1, hint 2, solution, I think, kind of like an exit game. But the app was used for putting in the answers. So instead of like using a wheel decoder or anything, you just put the answers in the app and then it tells you, okay, you got it or you didn't get it. And then you can move on to the next puzzle, like turn the next page or something. You do need like scissors because it has things to cut out when you turn to a page. Sometimes it tells you to cut out something or fold something. There's lots of different types of puzzles. Some of the puzzles I didn't like as much as others, and some of them I got more confused on. But overall, like I liked the puzzles, and it had like good, engaging story. It's not a complete story because this is chapter 1 of like an episode of escape rooms. But this was a full-length escape room, 1 hour. But there's going to be more in the future that they make that I think might not be free. So I'm really looking forward to the future ones, and I want to continue the story when they come out. And if you like escape room games and you have a printer with paper, then you should definitely try out The Secret of Langton Manor because I think it's totally worth it. I mean, totally worth the free price. But yeah, it was worth the time because it was a lot of fun for people who like escape rooms like Exit and Unlock. So that was my best of the month. Bye!
So my pick has to be a game that we have been getting to the table a lot in the last month. We've nearly finished it, so the review will be coming soon. But so far, to be able to get a game to the table over and over again and you want to play it over and over again, it's got to go, for me, for My Island. Much like with My City or the My City Roll and Write, once you've started that campaign, you want that ball to keep rolling. You want to keep opening those envelopes, putting down those stickers, and playing some really fun polyomino placement games. Each game, the rules slightly tweak and change as you play through this legacy experience. Things unlock, all that sort of goodness of legacy experience. And much like with My City, it's a very simple core game of normally you turn a card over, that's the tile, everyone around the table places that tile from their personal tile collection onto their own board. Now the first placement, that's going to be a bit similar, but after a few cards have come out, everyone started to have branched off in different directions. Maybe I'm trying to score for blank while someone else is trying to score for blank, and I'm not going to tell you what those are because as you play through the campaign, well, you'll find out what the different unlocks are, so I don't want to spoil it. But I've really been enjoying it, and we're about, at the moment when I'm recording this, we've got a few games left, so that's probably like one sitting. We're going to just power through the last few. Really have been enjoying My Island. If you're a My City fan, then I think you like My Island as well. But I'll give you a little bit more in depth when I come to actually review it. But I've been enjoying it a lot. We've played a load of games of it. So it's got to be my best of the month. That's My Island. Now let's pass over to the Boxed Meeples. And I've not played either of the games they've picked this month.
Hi, I'm Julian and this is Libby. And we make up Boxed Meeples right here on YouTube.
My favourite game that I played in November was Outlive. Now this is a game that I've been looking for quite some time because I thought that Julian would absolutely love it. So I've had it on sort of a watch list for probably 3 years or so, thinking that I'd wait for a birthday or Christmas or something. But we actually picked this one up at UK Games Expo from Hachette. It was one of the last few collector's editions that were there. So I was really excited to get it and we finally got it to the table. This is a post-apocalyptic game. There's just been a nuclear war and you're playing a tribe down in a shelter, a bunker, and you're having to head up and get enough water and try to survive until there's sort of another section of a colony that's going to come and save one of the tribes. So if you're not the best tribe there in the game, by the end you're pretty much definitely going to die from the nuclear war and the radiation. And this is worker placement. You are kind of going around gaining these resources that you need to survive. Obviously there's water and bits and pieces like that, but there's so much else going on here. You have different sort of powers of your meeples that you're placing on the board, and some can intimidate others if they're a higher power, which is interesting with the other tribes that you're competing with. So say for example, if I had a power 5 meeple, Julian had a power 3. I can go in and I've got 2 extra power that I can tell you to give me some water. You know, it's a little bit Walking Dead. I've got a gun to your head kind of feel about it. And you're each building up your shelter in different ways, which is also really interesting. So you'll be leaning towards different special conditions or abilities that you're going to be trying to work towards. And in order to activate those, you have to have enough survivors on them, which you're going to have to feed and water before the end of each round. So gaining enough resources to activate these things and then keep them alive throughout the game so you can keep using these abilities that you've got is really interesting in terms of a balance as to, is someone focusing on hunting, is someone focusing on water, is someone focusing on events. And events are quite a big part of this game as well. They come up each round, there's a new one, and they stay there until they've been resolved by somebody. And obviously if you choose to solve the event, you're going to be getting survival points, victory points for having done so. But you're using precious resources that you might need elsewhere. So that weighing up of whether it's worth me taking that, getting rid of this bad thing that's affecting everyone around the table, but I'm getting the victory points, or do I really just need to make my engine work? And obviously you can tool up and get different amounts of equipment, and if you've got equipment that pair together, you're getting extra points for that. So there's a lot of different ways to be thinking about how best to manage and how to work this puzzle, and the theme just works really well with it. Just really love the play. I'm excited to get hold of an expansion already.
Yeah, I really love the kind of marriage of theme and gameplay. Often you have, you know, a theme that's overlaid on the game. You don't really feel like it works together. This one is dripping in theme because the placements options you have is so small, so it does feel really tense and really exciting as you're working out, where do I need to go urgently and where do I want to stop someone else going?
And actually, where am I going to think that I need to go next turn? Because you can only travel so far.
Yeah.
So it is one of those games where you have to sort of think about not just this turn, but where's that going to leave me for the next round.
Yeah, I thoroughly loved Outlive, and it would have been my game of the month as well if it wasn't for Tamashii. Now, if you wrote down all the things I love, it would be a heavy narrative game. It would be almost, the future science fiction kind of game. I love the cyberpunk. I love Japan, and that has everything in Tamashii. So this is an Awakened Realms light game. The idea being you get a kind of Awakened Realms experience, you know, with the fantastic production values, but it's slightly simpler to get into, slightly quicker to play, and I think that really does deliver in this. So this is a scenario-based game inspired by films like Blade Runner and Autocarbon, all those kind of cyberpunk futuristic games. And as you're playing in a group of 1 to 4 people, you're trying to complete a different scenario. There's a range of sort of almost 20 available in the box. And those scenarios involve revealing parts of the map as you explore it, and then taking on various AI enemies which kind of stalk you and follow you around as you're trying to complete your objectives. Now, the speed at which you do these objectives will affect the way the game unfolds, and each of the scenarios have a range of choices that you have to collectively make as a group, which will then affect what parts of the mission is then further revealed. So you can be gung-ho and really go in with guns blazing, or you can be more tactical, step back and try and avoid catching attention, because as you are moving around the map trying to complete these objectives, you've always got the AI watching you, and if you stay still for too long, you're going to get attacked by enemies which attack your character. But don't worry, while you start off at a very simple kind of walker level, what's exciting about this is you can change body types. Because in this game, you're not actually a physical presence, you're more of a digital presence that can skip between different bodies. And as you adopt different bodies, you get different skills from them. And that allows you to kind of tailor the way you're behaving. And all this is done using a special launcher system, which is kind of like a slide puzzle. You're hacking different abilities, trying to line up certain combinations of colours to either do an effect on the opponents that are attacking you, or to just manipulate the game in certain ways and get different abilities as you go. So that happens kind of simultaneously, which makes it very quick to play. We can get through a scenario in this in around about 2 hours. And what's fantastic is it plays at varying player counts, but you can play one mission solo and then play a different mission later on at 4, using the stuff you've unlocked in a previous scenario in a later scenario. So though it's kind of a campaign game with an overarching story, you can have people kind of dip in and out. I absolutely love this game, and I backed it on Kickstarter going all in. I got the miniatures, which I've been loving painting. If you've been watching our channel, you would have seen my progress on how I've been doing those. And I just love the theme of it. I love the immersion of it, and the story itself is great, which is kind of what you're looking for in a narrative game.
Yeah, both of our choices this month definitely high up on the theme. Yeah.
Hi, it's Barb, MeeplePhD, and my favorite play for November 2023 is Imperial Miners. This is a game that's in the universe of Imperial Settlers, but it plays nothing like that game or the Empires of the North, which is actually the game I'm more familiar with. It's basically shares the art, but nothing else as far as gameplay. In this game, you are building up a mine, or rather building down a mine. You start the game with a camp tile and a hand of cards, and then you are going to start building downwards. Level 1 is, your first cards, and then level 2, level 3. You might go down 4 levels at the most. But as you play a card, you're going to activate that card, and then you're going to kind of make a path going up to your camp. So you'll, if you're playing a level 3, you will activate that level 3 and then an adjacent level 2 and then a level 1 and then something on your camp card. And so there's a lot of kind of puzzling out when and which cards to play, which ones will kind of synergize together. Your level 1s and level 2s, you're going to activate several times, but your level 3s are only going to be a couple, so you want to kind of maximize what you're going to get out of those. And so the whole game, I'm just planning ahead of what's next, what is the next thing I want to do. So what am I going to do this turn to make that possible? I've really enjoyed the puzzliness of this game. The one thing to know, it is very much multiplayer solitaire. It is all simultaneous play. You really don't care what your neighbors are doing. I'm not bothered by that. I play a lot of games that kind of have that element. This one is kind of extreme in that you really don't care what anyone else is doing. You kind of just focus in on your own mind and try and do the best you can with the cards you have. And at the end of the game, you compare to see, did I do better than my opponents or not? And if you did, great, you win the game. And if not, you shuffle up and play again because it's a super quick game. I've been playing it with my spouse quite a bit, and we're banging out games in about 20 minutes. So we always play it a couple of times whenever we get it out. Another thing I really love about this game is the art. One of the things that has, drawn me into the Empires of the North is the art. As you're looking at your cards and planning out what you're going to do, I always take a look at the art, and I often will find a new little detail that I didn't notice the last time, and it just gives me a smile. So it's another thing that just makes this game a delight for me. So anyway, that's my pick for this month. I will be back again next month, but in the meantime, you can look me up on Instagram and X, and I just joined Blue Sky, so not posting a lot there, but maybe soon. I also have my own YouTube channel, MeeplePhD, where I connect astronomy and board games. Otherwise, I will see you next month.
Hey everybody, it's Chris and Angie from the Chasing Meeples podcast, and we're here to tell you which game is our best of the month. Angie?
Nova Roma by Stan Krudonsky. This is an example of his worker placement games, and it could be the best one to date. Nova Roma is all about Emperor Constantine building a new capital, and he names it Nova Roma.
Mm-hmm. New Rome.
New Rome.
New Rome. There's so much stuff you can do in this game. There you can sail, you can build, you can gather resources from your estate board. You have to focus on a mosaic board where you have some tiles that give you some special end game goals, right? Basically, if you want to call it that, it's more not so much end game, but just goals that you want to get as you progress through the game. But the heart of this game is that forum, and the forum is there's a grid, and I think it's a 4x4 grid, and there's a bunch of different actions on there, and there's an emperor token. The emperor token, you flip a tile, it tells you have two choices where you can place it. You pick one, and then basically you're taking your workers or your patricians and you're putting them on the grid, and depending on where you put them, you can do the top action and the action on the side. So the horizontal and the vertical action. The first time we played it, it was like making my brain melt. I think the first move that it was my first turn of the very first game. I may have been tired. I may have been starting to get crabby, but I was just lost. I had AP already, but you know what? It's not a bad AP. It just makes you think. And once you figure it out, you're gonna have a blast.
Have you figured out this game?
Well, I would like to think I figured out this game, except I only have one strategy for every game that I play.
It's not a winning one, though.
Angie, why don't you just keep talking about the game?
You did a good job. You did a good job. You did a better job talking about it than playing.
Thanks. That's another dig.
Nova Roma.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Hi, I'm Josh from the YouTube channel Joshyaks, where I talk primarily about hobby-related topics such as board gaming and books. And the game that I'm going to choose as my game of the month for November is King Domino Origins by perhaps my favorite game designer, Bruno Catala. And what's interesting about this game is I didn't particularly enjoy the original King Domino game when it first came out, and I had a chance to play it. I just found it to be kind of boring, kind of dull. Just didn't really grab my interest. However, when King Domino Origins was released and I looked it up and read a little bit about it, I realized, oh, this looks like it could be right up my alley. First of all, it has this great prehistoric theme, and for whatever reason, I'm just a sucker for that particular theme. I don't know what it is about prehistoric times that makes for kind of fun board gaming, but I do tend to enjoy that. But the main thing that I think is really neat about this edition is that there are 3 ways to play the game, essentially 3 different ways you can score it. You can play what is called Discovery Mode, which is basically the same, I think, as the original King Domino game, so nothing really new added. But there are also 2 other ways that you can play the game using different point scoring. One is Totem Mode, where you can go for resource collection and having majorities in resources, and that is a good way to play with 3 or 4 players. Or there's also, I think it's called Tribe Mode, where you are collecting these cave people, each of whom are allowing you to score points with your little tableau in different ways. And that's the way that I've played this game most often. I have played this primarily as a 2-player game with my main gaming friend, and I really enjoy 2 players for a couple of different reasons. One is the fact that every single turn you have 2 workers to play, so you get 2 tiles every turn, and you get to build up an area that's 7 by 7 instead of 5 by 5. So essentially you get to experience more of the game and build up kind of a larger tableau and try to get more points. So playing in that particular mode works very well with 2 players. I picked this game up last year in 2022, and since I've gotten it, I've played it about a dozen times. In fact, I list it as basically one of the 2 best games I purchased last year, the other one being Planet Unknown. So this has been a huge hit, both with myself and with my primary gaming friend. Both of us are down to play this game pretty much any time. It's a great game, now that we are very familiar with it, to knock off quite quickly at the end of a game day. So it's been a ton of fun, and I'm slightly obsessed with this little game, despite my lack of interest in the original King Domino. Hope you all have wonderful December holidays, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.
Hey boardies, welcome to AmassGames. My name is Simon. It's delivering you best of the month for the month of November 2023. And this particular month, the game would be Caldera Park, a bingo-like game from the best designers of all time, Wolfgang Kramer and Michael Kiesling, again combining for about their 20th time now. A reimplementation of Savannah Park. This is more highly rated, an 8 out of 10 for me, by Pegasus Spiel and also by Deep Print Games. The aim of the game is to get the most points. Like I said, it's like bingo. You're going to have a tuck box each. It's basically a plastic-free game. You're going to place out a total of 35 different tokens, different animals. But in your Savannah, it's 2-sided board as well. I do recommend the advanced side, but do play with the original initially. And I did say in my original video that this is the side to show you, but actually do recommend the side a bit more strategic, a bit more interesting, a bit more thinky, and a bit more punishing as well. So what do these tiles look like? Well, I said there's 35, you have notches, so you have 7 to pick from. Each turn, somebody is going to pick a tile and say, right, a certain animal is going to go in a certain location. So you could say, I want to put a wolf in the savannah, or I want to put a bison in the forest, or a goat in the mountain, or I could say a goat on a plain, or obviously a savannah, or I could say wolf on the river. And you can have various tokens like these. So they can either have a single animal on them, it's like a wolf, in this case on a watering hole. This is very important because your score is going to be the amount of them, in this case 3 goats connected to 1 other watering hole. So you've got a total of 4 goats, gives you 4 points. There's a total of 2 more watering holes with goats on them, and the same for every other animal. So the best score you can get is 3 watering holes times by a total of 11 different goats. In this case, you get a score of 33. However, you might have noticed a mist going on here. That is negative tile. These are bad weather tokens. However, you get 1 good tile, 1 good sunny weather tile, which attracts all the animals, and therefore you can increase your animal count by 1. So you can get up to a total of 12 animals. 12 times 3, 36 points is the best you can score. If you cover all of your savannah areas, you're going to score yourself 7 points. If you score all of the mountain, it's 7 points too. Same for forest. All of the river, you score yourself 8 points. Cover a caldera. So if you completely surround a caldera, you can never actually place a tile on a caldera or on the volcano, then you score an additional 4 points for each one you surround. And also if you cover over all of these waterfalls, you get 4 points as well. So you can only place these tiles on the spaces where you can visibly see them. You can't place them on these bad weather tiles even. And also you will be placing out one of these bad weather tiles at the beginning of each round, so you have some idea where you do not want to be placing a tile next to. Bad weather tiles include things such as, bison and eagles are present, which basically means that you do not want them next to them. The way that's going to work is basically thematically it's too windy for a bison or an eagle or something like that, and any tile you have next to it represents that particular animal, you will not score. That's the game, 8 out of 10. I've played about 10 times already this month for the month of October and November already, and I hope you found it of interest. Please do let me know in the comments best on YouTube, like, subscribe and hit the notification bell, and of course follow along on the various channels as well. But for now, thanks for now, back to the table.
Hey friends and gamers, it's Frenchy. Good to see you all. Hope this finds you well. Hope you've been playing nice. Hope you've been playing a lot of games with friends and family. So what is my pick for best of the month? Well, when I look back at all the games that I played for November, I played probably one of the most eclectic array of games that I can really remember. I tend to gravitate towards games kind of, depending on what I'm feeling for that period of time. But this was really balanced for me this month and allowed this game to really pop out because it checks so many boxes for me. So the game that I want to talk to you about today is Bonsai. Bonsai is a game in which players are going to be placing tiles in a tableau to build a beautiful bonsai tree and score points. It's a very puzzly game that's driven by a card drafting mechanic as well as the tile placement. So what players will do is they will start off with a tile that is going to be their pot, and they're going to have a partial hex protruding from that wooden hex, and so that's going to be the stem in which you're going to be building their bonsai tree. They'll also have another tile below that, and that tile is going to show them how many tiles that they can have in their supply, and they're also going to show the number of tiles that they can play when they go ahead and build and grow their tree. Now, to the right and the left of that tile below their pot, they can put out cards, and those cards are going to do a couple of things. Cards to the left are going to increase the amount of tiles they can have in their supply by 2. So you start off with 3, first card will add 2, now you can have 5, you put a second card in there, that adds 2, now you can have 7, and so on and so forth. So that allows you to have more tiles as you acquire them in your supply, which just gives you more options in which to choose from. On the right hand side, you're going to be placing cards that are going to have those tile icons, and so when you build, you'll be able to build up to all of those icons on your tree as you have. So even if you have 5 tiles, if you only have the main tile there and no other cards on that, you're only going to be able to build the 3 that are depicted on that. But as you continue to add cards to that, you'll have more tiles that you can build. Now there's 4 tiles in the game. There's wood, there's leaves, there are blossoms, and then there are peaches. And so wood needs to be placed on wood tiles and be adjacent to that. Leaves, there is a wood piece on one side, has to be placed against a wood where it's offshooting. Blossoms can go ahead and be placed off of the leaves, but you also want to make sure that you leave the blossoms open as much as possible because you're going to score more points for each of the exposed hexes. Blossoms are going to need a little bit more light, so you're going to need that light to permeate. Then you have your peaches. Peaches have to be placed between 2 leaf tiles, but you cannot place 2 peaches next to each other, so you're going to have to space them out. Now, Players are going to draft from a common draft board in the center of the table, and there'll be cards face up. And so these cards are going to allow the players to do different things in the game, acquire different tiles and do different actions. So some of the some of the cards that you can draft are going to be either, like I talked about, adding to your tile to the left, your tile on underneath your pot, to allow you to gain more tiles for your supply. And on the right hand side, you can draft cards to go ahead and add the amount of tiles you can play when you grow your tree. You're going to have cards that are going to allow you endgame scoring effects. You have figure cards, so there's a couple of different characters in the game. Those are going to allow you to either take specific tiles and add them to your supply, or possibly take tiles from your supply and grow your tree. And then you're going to have these other tiles below the game, 3 rows of 3, that are going to be endgame scoring. Now, as you're building your tree, you're going to try to go ahead and draft cards or go ahead and grow your tree. When you grow your tree, you're going to have to go ahead and fit everything together like we were talking about with the different tiles. One of the things you want to do is make sure that you don't restrict yourself, because the more options you have, the better your tree can grow. But if you start to restrict yourself and kind of limit your options, it's going to be very tough to score points. It's going to be very tough to place as many tiles as you can. Now, when you're placing tiles, if you happen to match the scoring tiles that are below the drafting board, you must immediately, if you meet the conditions, take the tile. So if one of the scoring tiles is 3 peaches, I can go ahead and take it. Now there's 2 other tiles that say 4 peaches or 5 peaches. I have to take, if I put a 3rd peach on my bonsai tree, and I want to go ahead and take that 3 peach tile to get those points at the end of the game, I have to take it. If I don't take it now, I cannot take it in the future. Okay, so basically you're going, do I want that tile, or am I going to bet that I'm going to get a 4th peach or maybe a 5th peach to score more points? Now, if you decide you want to go ahead and get those other higher scoring tiles, and then you find out you can't get them by the end of the game, and that tile number 3 is still there, you cannot claim that. So you're going to have to claim that in a moment. So there's a little bit of hedging where you're going to be in the game in order to go ahead and position yourself for points. So after everyone has drafted and those cards are no longer being able to be refilled, all the players are going to go ahead and start going through the scoring round, tally up their points. Most points wins the game. So why do I like Bonsai? So I like Bonsai because it does so many things well. It is a simple game, and it's a card drafting game. You're placing tiles, and the mechanics are very simple, very intuitive. If even a beginning gamer has played a couple of games, they will get this very, very easily. But there's a nice strategy, a depth of strategy in this, because it is a puzzle at the end of the day. And you're trying to figure out, with everything you can get, what can I do? How can I go ahead and keep my options open to continue to grow the tree more robustly without being able to go, I can only place 2 tiles this turn, but I'm able to place 5. So you really have to think about, how am I going to play this out? How am I going to get the tiles? What tiles do I need to get? Now, the drafting part is kind of interesting too, because you might be looking at a card that gets snapped up just before you are able to get it. You might be able to take a card that somebody else needs as well. So there's a little bit of that interaction. It's not necessarily a take that, but it's just the nature of drafting on a exposed array of cards like that. Now, the other part of the game is that it is a beautiful game. It is a well-produced game. I'm going to call this, just from the looks of this, probably one of my top 3 or 4 best-looking games in the nature theme game. And there's been some spectacular ones. And I say that because even as you're building your tree, some people like to go ahead and they try to build their tree and make sure the bonsai looks nice and maybe as symmetrical as possible, or kind of looks good and not misshapen. But even a tree that might be quote-unquote misshapen will still look really, really good in the game. So that means that if you have a tree that everyone goes, oh, that's a nice looking tree, it pops. It looks so nice. But the artwork is really cool. The trees look great. It's not this big wow presence of table presence, but it is a beautifully aesthetic game for its simplicity and is really well done. The other thing is that this game plays in a very short time. You're going to have a pretty good sizable deck of cards. If you play with 3 players like we did, it goes very quickly. 4 players will obviously go a little bit faster. So it's a quick game. It's a game that I think is accessible by a lot of families. It's a game that has enough complexity and good for experienced gamers. I liken it to Cascadia, where that's a game that is very simple and yet has enough strategy and is very satisfactory for the experienced gamer as well as somebody new to the hobby. So, Bonsai. Can't rave about it enough. It's a great game. It is my pick for this month, And I hope you've checked it out. And if you have, go ahead and put some comments down below for Ollie and the rest of us to see. And if you haven't, go ahead and play it. Go ahead and pick up a copy. I recommend it very, very much. So that's Frenchy for this month. Continue to play nice, and I hope to see you all very, very soon. Take care.
Hi, I'm Will, and with me as always is the overly turkeyed one herself.
Sarah.
And we're Rolling with Two. And we played games in November. Yay for us.
Yay, we actually succeeded.
Yes. So what is our favorite games for November?
Okay, well for me, it was Century Golem Edition. I actually played a couple of games on Board Game Arena. And for me, it's the narrative. Now, not the narrative that they wrote for the game, but the narrative I see in the art of the game. And that is, I'm converting these shiny crystals into helpful golems that move about this fantastical world. And I really enjoy the clever hand management, the resource management, all these mechanisms work really well for me. And then lastly, it's the art that pulls me in. It's all these golems. It's just 100% of the joy in this game. And honestly, this is one of the few games where I can play over and over again and continually lose. And I absolutely love it because I got to make a golem that's a playground or a bridge, or it's carrying, cows across the field. It's amazingly wonderful thematically to me.
Yeah, and she'll be very honest when you say, oh, you mean Century Spice Road? And she goes, no, I do not mean Century Spice Road.
I'm sorry, I will never play Century Spice Road. I do not like to trade spice in the Mediterranean, and it is very boring. This is the best version, Golems Forever. So what about you, Will?
For me, for November, it was Starry Night Sky. Now, this is a game from Buffalo Games by Emma Larkins. We had a chance because she actually gave us a copy.
Yep, we were play testing Abandon All Artichokes for her, and she said, hey, you want to try this game for compensation? We're like, yeah, let's try it.
Yes. So the reason why is it has positive player action and it's a semi-co-op. A lot of games say they're a semi-co-op.
Now this one doesn't actually say it's semi-co-op.
Yeah, but a lot of games will say semi-co-op with positive player actions, and they don't deliver.
Yeah.
This delivers. And it, like Sarah says, this doesn't claim to be a semi-co-op, but it is a semi-co-op. Because of all the player interaction. Now, the way that works is the fact that you're completing constellations out on the board. The more constellations get done, the more it helps everyone. Yeah. If a constellation is complete, that means you can move through it for free. If you leave it incomplete, that means there's another scoring opportunity for someone. So no matter what you do, everybody's having a better time because you're doing and contributing to this.
Yes.
And all of this is wrapped up in a fantastic packaging. There's the telescopes that are three-dimensional.
The shiny stars.
They're shiny stars of yellow, blue, and red. It has a board that gets filled up with it. Looks great, has circular cards to make even that spot look interesting.
And the constellations are not your normal, our real-world constellations. They're fun or funny or endearing constellations.
Yeah, it's just whatever she came up with that that spoke to her, and they sound very different.
Yeah.
And all of that is done in a theme that's just not really tackled all that much. I've seen some that are, have to do with stars, have to do with constellations in a very abstract way, but this seems more direct and feels fresh in how it's done. So there you go, Starry Night Sky. That was my favorite for November. Century Golem Edition.
Yes, Century Golem Edition.
And you can check out reviews as well as two-player perspective and accessibilities for both these games on our YouTube channel at
Rolling with Two.
And that about wraps us up today. What's been your favourite game mentioned on the show, and what was your best of the month for November 2023? Let us know in the comments section below, and while you're going down there, check out the description box because the links to all of the creators on today's show will be in there. So please do go and check them out. That's what this is all about, sharing the love of games and also content creation, of all that sort of jazz. Anyway, until next month, have a great month gaming.